Welcome to Soundbite, the podcast where we talk to interesting people in the Maritimes about their stories, specialties, and insights. I'm Caitlin Dutt, one of your co-hosts.
And I'm Tim Porter. Okay, Caitlin, I'm kind of excited about this week.
Oh yeah? Why are you excited?
Well, I think I can spend the hour talking about my dog.
All right.
Is that what we're talking about?
Well, kind of, yeah. Well, we'll be talking to the New Brunswick SPCA and its executive director, Lesley Rogers.
Hi, Lesley.
Hello.
Hi, Tim. Hi, Caitlin.
But unfortunately, I don't know if we'll talk that much about your dog unless we're talking about animal abuse.
See, Lesley, there's my dog.
There you go.
I got a picture of my dog here.
She needs a friend, Tim.
No, it's a him.
He needs a friend or two.
Arlo. So we're going to be spending the hour talking about Arlo, I think.
And what about my cats?
You have cats?
Yeah, two, Chloe and Cora. Have you ever seen pictures of them?
No, I don't know anything about your cat
All right,
ownership.
Well, maybe we'll learn some about them today. But on the topic of that, we first should broach the subject of the difference between the New Brunswick SPCA and like the local SPCAs, because I think a lot of people kind of confuse the two. And you guys have a very specific mandate that isn't just, or it's not adoption necessarily.
Yeah, we work with our shelter partners as we enforce animal cruelty laws. So the NB SPCA is a very old institution. We're over 145 years old, originally led by private citizens concerned about the well-being and mistreatment of animals in St. John. New Brunswick was sort of right in the middle of the pack across Canada of developing private laws to protect things of great economic value at the time, horses in particular. And from that has grown the movement across the world about protecting animals from cruelty. So the New Brunswick SPCA has always been involved in, our mission is to prevent animal cruelty. And one of the services we do is we administer provincial law in terms of protecting animals from cruelty, neglect, abuse, and not getting adequate medical care. So really to once we find out about it, to shorten the time for any animal suffering and to hold those accountable if they've broken the law.
There seem to be kind of two different categories here. Maybe there's more. There would be the farm animals that, farms that break down and just aren't functioning properly, and you need somebody to step in. And then there would be animal cruelty individually as people own their pets kind of thing. Or are there other types of examples, Lesley?
No, certainly that we are one of two SPCAs in Canada that enforce farm animal codes of practice for horses, sheep, cows, poultry, ducks, goats. There's over a dozen of them, and they are affixed to the New Brunswick SPCA regulation. So we do that, and certainly we are seeing an uptick in farm animal cases where people are stretched really in terms of things they used to be able to do themselves and not having enough financial resources to pay others. And we've had some serious cases in the last 2 years, particularly around horses, which is very tragic in many ways. But also,
so do you think that's actually an uptick, or is it just you're finding the stats a little bit easier than we had before?
We're definitely doing a better job of collecting data and managing data,
right?
Which is important. But I definitely think from the oral history, our chief is retiring at the end of this year. He's been there for 8 years. And it's been unprecedented. So since COVID, since 2020, our number of animal cruelty complaints has doubled in 2024.
And that's because the food supply is so expensive, or?
It's really a combination of things, Tim. Like what we're seeing is definitely cost of living is impacting people. The housing situation is impacting people. They can't find housing they can afford where they can bring their pet, so they're either surrendered or abandoned. We have really, seen since COVID the issues in terms of mental health, substance abuse disorder, interactions with criminality around drugs, family violence, those kind of things. There's all animals in the mix of those things, and we often get called. We get called by the RCMP or a mental health team, or we get a lot of referrals from social services. So those things are happening. That is really making it difficult for people. But at the same time, we're going through the largest time when we have an aging population. So we have a lot of people who their circumstances change and they're not able to look after their pets anymore. So they're sort of all coming one on top of the other. It's not one single thing that you can put your hands on. But
well, I think it can be quite expensive. I think we're all pet owners, aren't we, Lesley? And I mean, just the veterinary costs. I mean, people don't realize going in how expensive it can be, and sometimes people just get overwhelmed with those costs. I think.
Absolutely. So the statistics nationally are that 1 in 5 Canadian households can't afford basic veterinary care. And certainly, as part of our long-term plan, we want to get more involved in the early intervention or prevention through our Happy Tales program, which I'm happy to talk to you about as it goes on. But all of these things are sort of happening all at once. So it's not just New Brunswick. It's across the globe, really. You're seeing cases go up and up, shelters being overwhelmed. So getting back to us and the difference with the shelters, we work in partnership through a contract with the local shelters who are governed by their own board of directors. We all sort of adhere to the ethos of the SPCA mandate. And when we bring them animals, we pay them for their shelter and cost, and we look after the veterinary costs if we seize them or we've picked up a stray animal and bring them to the shelters. The shelters are also on a daily basis dealing with people in their community.
And what do you do with the farm animals? They must be more difficult to.
Yeah, they are. We have built some relationships with people who can board and store. We also work in partnership with the large animal vets through the Department of Agriculture. They provide an essential service to us, and we work closely with veterinarians, period. So as you can imagine, when you're coming into a situation, it's largely the physical evidence that tells the story, and the people who help us with that are veterinarians. So when we go out to a large animal case, the provincial vet is there with us to make sure, and really we're working together, and they tell us, okay, this animal's can't stay here anymore. They're at a point in time where they're too much at risk to stay where they are, and then we would take them. But typically, if we would get a call, we get calls through a 24/7 hotline. It's who answers and direct calls across the province to our officers who are in the regions.
Yeah, you have 15 of those, right?
Yeah, and they work from their cars essentially, or their vehicles all around the province, so they can get to the cases that they need to. And once we take a complaint, we go and visit, and you look to see if the animal's all right. If they're all right, that's great. If there's something that's not quite right, and you can educate them, and it's a minor thing, then that's great. If it's, again, relatively small, then they can give them a compliance order and follow up. But if it's a severe situation, we take the animal from harm.
So what sort of capacity do you have? Because you said there's been this huge increase since the pandemic, and you're taking in all these animals.
Yeah, last year was crazy in the sense that we doubled the number of animals that we took in. And our cases are actually creeping. We're pretty much holding par with last year. We're a little bit higher cases, not quite as many animals, though we did do 2 very large seizures of Shih Tzus this year, over 100.
Wow.
So
that's like an informal breeder kind of thing, or
it's an illegal breeder who is set up in the house and has, in most recent case, 58 dogs in the house.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Anyway, so those things come and go. We also have 230 licensed breeders who get their inspected and licensed every year. But these things, you can't really predict them. And in our office, we're not allowed to use the Q word. We're not allowed to say it's quiet because then suddenly,
Right.
boom, it all,
Yep.
Right.
you know, and the officers, they do a fantastic job, and it's really difficult to presume what you're going to find, right? You just don't know. Somebody calls and says, oh, I got a puppy from so-and-so, and it died. It was 6 months old. It died. It was very sick. I think somebody should go and check on that case.
Right.
And that's the one we had in March, where there was 42
Right.
Shih Tzus living in just a horrendous situation, which is in the court system now. So, you know, you just don't know. And, you know, we also see fairly frequently hoarding situations, which is a complex mental health situation where, you know, last year there was an apartment in Fredericton. I think there was 60 cats in a single apartment.
Wow. Yeah.
And it in bad shape. So, so we do our best, and our shelter partners are excellent because, you know, we show up with animals. We typically, our process is if we're seizing the animals, we take them to the vet, but you know, we're not always able to do it immediately. We bring them to shelter at all kinds of different times of the day and night to our shelters, and they help to get the animals cleaned up and get groomed. Sometimes they're often, you know, you can't see them, and then we continue ongoing care. So we make sure that they get help.
Right.
So one of your pillars that your organization is working towards is advocating for stronger animal protection laws. Can you give us an overview of the landscape of animal protection laws as it is today?
So in New Brunswick, the SPCA Act and the regulations under the SPCA Act are set out the basic animal protection laws for New Brunswick. It's, you know, about unsanitary conditions, access to adequate food, water, and shelter. There's issues of abandonment, and also access to medical needs. I worked as a social worker when I first started my career, exact same things. And in fact, child protection laws are based on animal protection laws. The act is really old and cumbersome, so we need to modernize it. We need to clarify the definitions for abandonment to update them to the situations that we're seeing more and more. And we also want to look at possibly strengthening some components to deal with breeding practices under the pet establishment license, which we are the only province that has that very important tool. We look at it as the first line of animal protection. You know, you need a pet establishment license if you're going to breed dogs, board dogs overnight, pet stores, and animal shelters. So basic health, cleanliness, and conditions that keep the animals safe. And we want to be able to do that and look at some of the breeding practices. But, you know, there's other issues. And recently what we want to study more is in Manitoba, they've set certain temperatures that basically if you leave your dog in the car over a certain temperature, you're guilty. Same with leaving an animal pet outside after a certain temperature. We're not going to look at all the conditions, but if you leave your dog out all night and it's minus whatever, then you're guilty.
And those are laws that you're looking at advocating to.
Well, we want to go and look and see how effective they've been because, you know, when you need to actually go and prove harm, you might have had a minus 35 day and somebody's left their cat out overnight, which is very dangerous. You manage to take them, but, you know, you have to prove categorically, and it really becomes a difficult thing to say in that kind of term. We have a case recently where we've laid charges for a woman who left her dog in the car at the Moncton Casino. And the dog basically died in the car. You know, when the officer was called, there was nothing we could do. It was just horrendous. But, you know, we don't understand. I don't understand why people don't realize that, you know, it's over 26 degrees plus humidity in the middle of August and you're going to leave a pet in the car for 3 hours. That's not going to survive. So we want to be able to do things more, look at the penalties related to those things. and as I said, the Act is old, so it's probably good. We have a lot of great things in the Act, but it's just making it easier to be understood, having clear pathways to get charges approved, and judges to see the connection straightforward would be really helpful.
So do we have a healthy supply of legal breeders in the province?
I would say we have a good supply. We have 230 breeders. What we want.
And are you talking about dogs there? Or?
Dogs.
Right,
You're not required to have a cat breeder license. I think that's not a bad thing, and I think from some of the cat breeders that do specific breeds of cats, they would welcome that. But it's a much smaller sector.
Okay.
Our biggest challenge is unfixed stray cats because they can reproduce up to 4 times in a year.
Right. Yes.
So getting back to your question though about dogs, we have on our website the Your Next Pet, and you have Arlo, your dog. I'm a super brave woman. I have 2 terrorists. I have 2 Cairn Terriers, and I didn't I kind of was looking for a mutt like I used to have. And I didn't want a really big dog. So I couldn't find one at the shelter at the time when McGregor passed. But I always watched the dog show, so I think I like the scruff of a terrier. And there happened to be a breeder in St. John where I was living. So I didn't do all my homework. The breeder was very good at making sure I knew what to expect and tested me, and I had to go back and get references. That's number one first sign of a good breeder. If they want to meet you in a parking lot to give you the dog, run. That is not a good sign. And if you're buying a dog on Kijiji, I think the onus on a family who's looking to add a pet to their household is to give some deep thought to what's your life like, right? Do you need a couch potato? If you've always been a couch potato, you don't want a dog that needs hyperstimulation and exercise to be manageable and expect that you're suddenly going to change your lifestyle to meet that dog. You need to do the research. You need to, if you have toddlers, getting a large side guardian breed dog is not a good idea. Right now we see a lot of Marimars and Great Pyrenees, which are beautiful, beautiful looking dogs, very large dogs, but they're a livestock guardian breed. And they're not really good for pets. And then suddenly people can't handle them. And that's where they end up in shelters or running at large, and we get involved. You need a good fit for everybody to be happy.
Yes.
And so we ask people to make the research to consider a rescue. The shelters are going to be able to give you some history about those animals, particularly if the animals are able to spend time in foster care, because then you have a really good idea of how they're going to act when you adopt them. And that is certainly what we need. And there's some beautiful animals, cats and dogs, out there. Lots of cats, because this is part of one of the cycles where there's a lot of kittens coming involved. And recently we had a case out between Fredericton and Oromocto where somebody witnessed someone throwing a bag over a bridge, and he happened to be fishing and looking that way, and it was a mum and kittens that were only a couple of days old. And our officer went and responded and brought them to the Oromocto SPCA. They could not find the mother, but all but one of the kittens has been hand-reared and survived. So we don't want people to do that. We want people to reach out, and that sort of comes to me to our focus on prevention and helping people get their pets spayed and neutered through Happy Tails. We've done about 670 since we've started. We really want to do more in the new year because we want to get at dealing with the stray pet population and people who can't look after them. That's, to me, is important. We're trying to bring down that barrier. It costs $100 if you are qualify from a low-income family, and it's a good deal. Get your vaccinations, pet spayed and neutered, and microchipped. So we have partnerships with vets throughout the province to do that. And I think we're looking at to explore ways we can do intensive events going forward.
Could you give us an overview of just all of the kind of pillars of the Happy Tales program?
So the Happy Tales program has been expanded. I don't think we're quite a full year. We started out strictly with veterinary referrals, and then we added. Looking for my page with my numbers. Then we added emergency vets, and we started to open it up to the public. So we do have social workers referring people through, and we do have talked to lots of individuals who are on fixed incomes who need to have that help. So, to me, and these numbers were at the end of October, and there's a significant number that's come through already. So we have helped over 1,200 animals. And we have partnered with 56 different veterinary clinics. So often people, it is very much a province-wide initiative. And we've done 670 spay and neuter surgeries, primarily cats, but we do offer a $200 contribution towards the spay and neuter of a dog. And then almost 600 animals who've received emergency veterinary health. And, sometimes that saved a life, and sometimes it's been a source to end the suffering. Because, euthanasia is not necessarily always within reach of certain families as well. And we believe in, a healthy life and a pain-free death is what we aim for.
What is the cost associated with euthanasia?
It's often by weight.
Oh, okay.
Right? So it can range from $300 to $1,000.
Wow, yeah. That's not cheap.
No.
Yeah.
So it really depends, I think, on the animal you have and the like. But access to veterinary care is becoming a bigger and bigger issue across the country. And different areas are looking at different ways to bridge that gap. And as I said, Happy Tales is what's working for us right now with the partnership with private sector veterinarians. But I think down the road we would like to be able to have a clinic that we could move forward and help people, underserved communities. So in the short term, we had our very first public was an outreach program for a health check at 12 Neighbors here in Fredericton, which was a fantastic day. The veterinarians donated their time. We had a team of volunteers from the Oromocto SPCA. The NB SPCA contributed for the consumables like the vaccines, the microchips. Pet store companies donated food and kitty litter. And the group there brought through, there was about 15 or 16 people that have their pets there to be examined. And if they needed vaccines, they didn't have their vaccines, we brought them up to date. We microchipped them and sent them home with some supplies. And, everybody but one came back for their booster shots, which was amazing. And we only had two animals, one that hadn't been fixed and another that had some issues to be resolved. And we paid for that through Happy Tales. And, we want to do more of that because, again, if you have a congregation of people and there's multiple animals that aren't fixed, you're going to end up with a lot of other pets that people can't afford to do all the care. So if we can get in early and kind of get things sorted out, then we don't escalate those kind of issues.
So some of the information you kind of gave us prior to this was that with someone like the average family income for emergency assistant recipients, that's at $28,000. Is that like the whole family income?
So that's the gross income. That's the average of the people that we've dealt with. So some people have almost no income. And some have more than that, but that's the overall average for the program. We look at people's ability and we look at the circumstances relative to their income last year and situations. So we try not to be arbitrary in interpreting whether somebody's had a divorce or a loss of job or a health issue that's come up. So, but typically we are helping, people who are on very, very low income. But for us, we really just want to make sure that those pets get spayed and neutered and their vaccines so they can have a good start in life, and that we don't have more and more animals.
Is there an application process for this Happy Tails program that we're
you
talking
can
about?
just email us at happytails.nbspca.ca. We administer the program in partnership with the Oromocto SPCA. And the manager there interacts with the veterinarians and the applicants. We also typically have referrals from veterinarians. So Happy Tails is, to me, one of the best things that we've been able to do for low-income pet families in New Brunswick. And it sort of started with a bequeath we got from June Hooper, who was a Greater Fredericton well-known animal lover and dog trainer. And that helped us kind of get going in doing this. And we started with the low-cost spay and neuter, and it has grown and really kind of morphed into the other big need, which is the emergency pet assistance. So if you have an emergency and you end up at the vet, and you get a quote, usually you get the low and the high end, and then if you are a low income person, you can't really, typically you don't have savings, you don't have good credit, you won't qualify for scratch pay. Your family members can chip in what they can, but we're there to help with that other part. Typically we've sort of set a max of about $1,000, but we deal with things on a case by case basis. And it's really helping people. So they're either forced from an economic euthanasia, or what they do is they bring the pet home and the pet suffers because the issue is not being addressed. If it has a broken jaw or quills, and then it becomes a chargeable offense, right? And they could be addressed because really they do love their animal, but they don't have the means. And that's certainly what happened with how we started with this program. Was one of our officers was dealing with a family, totally typical situation where the veterinarian would call the officer and say, look, I have this woman here. We've done some tests. She's paid for some tests. The cat needs surgery. And she's out on medical leave, and they just don't have the money, but she really wants the cat to have surgery, so she's prepared to surrender it to you, meaning that we own the cat now. And then we would pay for the surgery, and then we would take it to the shelter and rehome it to somebody else. But this cat, Tigger, had a loving home. Someone who really wanted that cat to get all the help it needed. And so he called me and he said, like, this doesn't make sense. I'm going to go check out the house, but if it's okay, are you okay with me giving the cat back to them? I said, absolutely. I trust your judgment. Go and see. And that's what we did. And if I had audio, the crying on both sides was very high. But, we need to keep animals that have good homes out of the animal welfare system. They don't need to go to a shelter. And we shouldn't have everyone being faced with hard economic decisions like that.
So we're talking with Lesley Rogers from the New Brunswick SPCA about the Happy Tails Fund. We're just going to go on a break, and we'll be right back.
Well, we're going to let our radio listeners go, and podcast listeners will be right back.
Yeah.
Okay, we're coming back with Lesley Rogers with the SPCA in New Brunswick. Hi, Lesley.
Hi, Tim. Hi.
Great to have you here. So, there's a lot of goodwill out there for the SPCA, I think, in the province. It's got a very good reputation. Do you have like a lot of volunteers and a lot of board members that are excited, and how's the excitement level around your organization?
We have a very dedicated team of employees who are committed to the well-being of animals. It's a big part of who they are.
Inspectors and
our officers who they really look to help people when they're in a jam.
Right. Yeah.
And we can't do that without the generous donations we receive every year from our donors. And obviously this time of year is a big time for giving. And we encourage people to see if they want to help improve the lives of animals in New Brunswick to make a contribution to the NB SPCA. And you can direct it to our general operations, or if you want to, you can direct it specifically to Happy Tails. And all 100% of that money will go towards helping New Brunswick low-income pet families access either basic veterinary care or emergency veterinary care. And it looks like we're this year we're getting close to just shy of $400,000 worth of care that we've been able to provide.
Right.
And some of that comes at a discounted price because we are a charity, and veterinarians are really happy about this program because it's something they can offer their clients in very difficult circumstances.
Yes.
And it also gives the officers choice to provide that little bit of help when they know somebody is just outside of their reach in terms of their financial capacity. And we're seeing that we're able to help more, offer more solutions, and this in some ways reduce our costs for because we're not taking the animal in the system. It doesn't need to go there. It doesn't need to be brought into a shelter.
Well, I read some of the examples you're talking about, surgeries that otherwise couldn't be paid for, and that sort of thing. And
it's a variety of issues that come up. We've had certainly a lot of pyometra, which is a terrible infection and life-threatening in the uterus for female cats and dogs, and totally preventable if they're spayed. Male cats, we tend to have a blockage issue that is a bigger issue, and we really need to encourage people to keep a good eye on the male cats because it can happen more frequently, and make sure they're drinking lots and have some wet food in their diet. And the other is obviously interactions with vehicles. Not a good thing. And so we deal with some broken bones, or where somebody's animal's been attacked by another animal.
Right. Yeah. But are there laws throughout the province on I guess dogs about whether they can be whether they have to be on a leash or
So the dog control, which is sort of like the general umbrella for that, is a public safety issue, and it's dealt with through the provincial dog regulation under the Local Governance Act or a municipal bylaw.
So municipalities are dealing with that.
Yeah, but we provide services to municipalities and the provincial government about dog control, and it's timely that you mention it because we're seeing more and more that there's more aggressive confrontations where a dog has bitten a person, and we end up getting involved in decisions, usually are made by a judge about the long-term, looking at the appropriation of responsibility. Was it the owner? Was it the dog? What was going on? But essentially, you need to have control of your dog, and ways to keep it on your property. If the dog goes off your property, not on a leash, then you're responsible.
Yeah.
Is there anything in terms of, like, I know sometimes a contentious issue amongst the cat owners community, but is there anything on letting cats outdoors just to kind of roam free, kind of in the province?
So sometimes municipalities will make restrictions on cats. For me, I have 2 dogs, 2 cats. I've always had a combination of both. And I don't let my cats go outside. I had a cat get hit by a car when I was living in Fredericton, and I just solidified it for me. So they live longer. They have happier lives. They don't get fleas. They don't get these issues. So you just start from the beginning and keep them inside and give them stimulation. But it's difficult, and that's how when you let them out and they're not fixed and they haven't had shots, then this is how things get perpetuated going forward. So I know some people say it's difficult, but my own experience is it hasn't been, and it certainly is the best practice recommendation to keep them inside. For dogs can do a lot of damage, right? Dogs are powerful, can be very powerful. Even my little dog, who's not even 20 pounds, like, I can't get her to move when she doesn't want to move. They were built to kill weasels and badgers and protect the farm in Scotland. Like, they have certain things in their makeup that give them that strength. So you need to have a good relationship with your animal. You want to have really good recall for a dog, and you should have your dog on a leash when you're outside, because you just don't know what you're going to encounter, right? And it's the same thing with if you're out in the woods or what have you, you want to be responsible, because one, to protect your dog, but also to protect others.
And how many cats are just too many, Caitlin? Where does it end?
I respect everyone's choice to have many cats, but I think too many. 6.
All right. Well, you have 2 now.
I have 2 now.
All right.
I probably wouldn't personally go over 3 myself.
All right. Yeah.
If you have an odd number, they tend to gang up on each other.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good to know, actually.
Right.
I have a mom-daughter combo, and the daughter is so much more hyper than the mom and always attacks the mom. Mom just always gets annoyed.
And is this an adoptive situation, too?
Adoptive as in
you adopted them?
I did adopt them.
Right.
Yes. So I actually my boyfriend's
this is getting complicated.
Yeah, I know. My boyfriend's dad's girlfriend.
Okay.
She fosters a lot of cats. So we kind of met them through that. And it was a very nice way, and we were like, well, we weren't thinking of adopting cats, but just kind of happened.
All right. I'm kind of sorry I asked.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are you going to give your story of your adoption? Or
well, there's nothing too exciting. Yeah.
Bought Arlo. How many years ago now was it?
Well, he's 9.
Okay. 9 years.
Yeah. Very happy with him.
That's good. That's good.
Very happy. He's got a personality.
He does.
Yeah.
Sometimes brings around the office.
Yeah, he's not the most popular.
We have to shut our doors.
Because he barks?
No, he's just very overly eager, friendly.
So we have 2 office cats.
Oh, that's
I
nice.
highly recommend office cats.
There you go, Tim.
We have Norm, who's this big, beautiful, glowing silver pewter cat, definitely overloved at this point. But he came to us, one of the officers, he'd been abandoned in an apartment. We get those kind of calls a lot. And he was brought to the Charlotte County SPCA, and then we went and adopted him. So that Norm is his name. It's like he's there to welcome you. He's there to make sure you give him treats before you go home. And then,
and they stay there overnight?
Yep, they stay in our office overnight.
All right.
And we take turns. We have a schedule on the weekends to go and feed them and clean up and stuff.
And they don't destroy anything on
No, they
the
do.
night.
They sometimes impact productivity. Like in the winter, they like to be where it's the warmest, and the chief's office has all the sun, and they like to lay on his keyboard. But we were worried Norm was lonely. So one of our officers up north, very kind gentleman, found this cat that was in a very bad way. It was a real mess in his yard and needed some help. So we went and picked it up. And, this officer has a a bias. She loves dogs. She's okay with cats, but she was like, oh my God, this cat is friendly. We got to help this cat. So we trapped the cat and we brought it to the vet, and its face was all infected and torn and looked like it had been attacked by a raccoon.
Oh, wow.
Anyway, so, they had to take all the dead tissue and treat him for a while at the vet, and actually the cat was FIV positive. And the Oromocto shelter took him and helped him recover. And once we got a sense that, he was certainly once a time owned by somebody and got out, we took him back. He is now lives with Norm, and his name is Cliff.
Nice.
And so Cliff, he put the boots to my dog, because I used to bring my dog to the office till that happened, because he was very particular. You could tell how he survived out in the woods for I don't know how long, at least a year, I think. And but now he's really kind of mellowed, and he had a dental recently. He had. His face was very swollen. He obviously had never had any vaccinations. He wasn't fixed. We did that, and we had his teeth cleaned up and his ears. And he's like a totally different cat now, very, very happy. And to come full circle, our office manager adopted one of the very last of the Shih Tzus that we recently seized, because one of the mums went to a first-time foster parent who I had recommended they become foster parents, and they'd just seen the vet, and the vet said, oh, she's fine, I don't think she's pregnant. Well, 9 o'clock that night, it's like, calls the foster coordinator for Oromocto SPCA. She's having puppies, what do I do?
Oh my gosh.
So she had 4 puppies, and 3 of them survived. And little Chewy, who's like this chocolate, he looks like either a Chewbacca or a miniature Chewbacca, I guess. He's about 12 weeks. He comes now to our office and works every day, and goes home with his mom and bosses the cats around, or tries to. And it's
See, we should get an office cat, Tim.
I guess it kind of, well, it could.
We've
Yeah.
got a lot of cat people in the office.
Yeah, we do, yeah.
as long as someone's going to look after the litter box, it's good.
That's
Yeah.
that's the thing, right? Yeah, I guess as thinking about the cost. I mean, you either adopt or you pay a breeder, I guess, and then you have to do the basic veterinary type costs, and then there could be incidents along the life cycle, but also my dog has to go to a spa every they try to schedule me in every 6 to 8 weeks or something. I don't know.
Just get the little bandana.
He has to go get a haircut. Yeah, he gets a little bandana, and that's all costs. I guess people, depending on the breed,
Yes.
in terms of whether they shed or they need to be clipped or whatever. But
no, I think it's you bring up an important point. It's not just your first cost, right? It's the life cycle cost. If you want to sound like an economist, for the pet, and people often make an emotional decision.
Yes.
Right? I went and got a second terrier. So did I do the math in my head, like twice the boarding, twice the grooming, twice the vet? No, I thought poor Ruby needed a friend. Now, and I wanted a succession plan because my oldest dog is now going to be 16 in February. But it is the prudent thing to do. You don't. Puppies are so darn cute, but you need to think of what they're going to be over their lifetime. And I get back to the idea of a Great Pyrenees, beautiful white, creamy colored, soft little puppy that's going to be a 200-pound dog or a 180-pound dog whose every instinct is to guard. And so it's not going to necessarily be the best one to answer the door in your house or around a toddler, right? So you need to think about, same with having a working dog that you're away at work all day and they're there by themselves. They're going to get very agitated and stressed, and they're going to make a mess, right? They're going to break things and tear things apart, and it's not good for the dog, and it's not good for you. So you want to make that good match.
Okay, well, thank you, Lesley. We've been talking to Lesley Rogers with the New Brunswick SPCA. Thanks for being our guest.
Thank you, Tim.
All right. See you.
Thank you for listening to Soundbite, a production of Porter O'Brien and CHSR 97.9 FM. Special thanks to our podcast host, CHSR, our sound editor, March Rojas Velasquez, as well as Adam Porter, who provided our theme music. You can find all our episodes on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube Music under Soundbite. You can also follow and support us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn at Soundbite Podcast.